think about anything as an ICT trader, it's all about what the DOL is, whether we're moving from internal liquidity, external liquidity, all of those little points of interest. But if we don't have something to reference to, because remember, everything that we reference when we trade is not to the right side of the chart. Everything that we reference is going to be to the left side of the chart. Does that make sense? If we could reference anything to the right, we'd be seeing into the future. So everything, always. So all of this, or this journey particularly, started for me with something that the currency merchant introduced. Now it's public knowledge. I'm not going to deep dive into it either. You may have heard quite a few people talk about it. I know Future Code mentioned it. Cold Brew has spoken about it. Its algo may have spoken about it. And for me, this journey started particularly with trading what we call the overnight session, or ONS. You guys familiar with that? Anyone not familiar with that? The ONS? Not familiar. All right. So basically, the gist behind the ONS, or the overnight session, is that everything that exists after 4 p.m. to 5 a.m. UTC minus 5 does not exist, right? It does not exist. It's Asian liquidity created. So the algorithm still has to tick away. It's liquidity generated for the next session to take. And it's not too dissimilar from regular trading hours, or the gap between regular trading hours. But if we had to plot that onto a chart, and I have a little indicator for that, you'd find, let's just crank this up. There we go, right? So this little indicator, what it actually does is it plots out, for me personally, the Asian range. You'll see in blue, the London kill zone with the London silver bullet. And this is where we are most interested in, is 5 a.m. to 9:15. This range is our reference point. And what we would use in order to take trades, basically, right? We need, like I said at the beginning of this call, we need a reference point to look back to. And every range that you trade, you should be aware that the high and the low of those ranges all house liquidity. So when we look at something like the overnight session from 5 a.m. to 9:15, everything, if you picture that everything from the previous 4 a.m. does not exist, right? So let's do this. Let's do that. Let's blank it out for a second. So at 4 p.m., when the market closes, everything after that does not exist. At 5 a.m., this is where we start hunting, right? And everything regarding our hunt is going to be based on where we open up in relation to the last point of order flow. The last point of, is my volume low? Sorry, Paul, did you?
You're good.
I'll go. Can
You're
you?
good.
Yeah, good. Okay. Maybe it's just you guys. Right. So when we open up at 5 a.m., we mark off the opening price at 5 a.m. and we always look back to see where we are in relation to the last point of order flow. So what does that even mean, the last point of order flow? There are times where the market may open up and we may have gapped up away from the previous 4 p.m. close, right? And there are times where we open up inside the previous 4 a.m. close or below, right? So we gap up, we gap down, or we open up inside previous order flow. So what does that even mean? if we take into account this blanked space, right, at 4 p.m. to 5 a.m. and that it does not exist, when we reference back and we open at 5 a.m. and we look to the left, you can see that we opened up inside price action, right? We didn't open up above it. We didn't open up below it. We opened up inside previous price action. So the last point of order flow for us, if we had to mark off 4 p.m., would be right here, right there. We opened up inside these candlesticks right here. When 5 a.m. comes around, it is not random. It should work in Forex, Trader Mo. It's not random that the overnight session opens up, creates liquidity or creates a range, and the general idea or what we strive or look for is for when we open up at 5 a.m., we want to see where we are in relation to the 4 p.m. close and how we can trade back to it. So you can see here that this is not random, that we traded back to the previous 4 p.m. close right here, and price basically effed off afterwards, right? This is not a once-off occurrence. This will generally occur on most days. If you tag the previous 4 p.m. close, let me see if I can do this on the indicator really quickly so it'll make life just a little bit better, right? Give me a sec. What can we do here? We can turn that off, turn that off, turn this guy off, turn this guy off, turn that guy off. Right. Give me a second, guys. I just want to make this really quick for us right here. Let's call this 1600 to 0500, and we shall make it that, and we shall make its transparency 10, and let's see what that does for us. Give it a second to kick in. Right, so basically what I've actually done here now is visual order, bring to front. There we go, right? So you can see here now, maybe I should darken this a bit more. Let's make it 1. Right, so what you see here now, we'll close this off and we shall bring that guy in right there. So what you're going to see is all of the price action from the close at 4 p.m. to the start of 5 a.m. all blanked off as if it doesn't exist, right? You can see it there on the screen clearly. And what that would do for you is give you an idea that if the previous 4 p.m. closed right there, and we opened up on this particular day at 5 a.m., we opened up right here, that this will strive to rebalance or close that gap. So you could treat it as an overnight session gap or a void. Is that clear? What this also means is that when we look to trade the overnight session, it's not the same as the RTH. It's very similar, but not. RTH would open up at 9:30, right? This opens up at 5 a.m. Now, I'm not going to go into the various profiles that exist on how to trade the ONS, right? That's not my stuff to teach, and it's not public, not public information or available publicly, right? But what we strive to do is, if the highs or the lows of these or this overnight session is untapped, you would see a situation where the market will seek to, if they've taken the high, they would seek to come back and take the low. So now what we have is a reference point, in this case, the overnight session, where we open up in relation to the previous 4 p.m. close and how we could trade back to it. So imagine now in this little piece of price action here, we open up at, yeah, you can learn it at, you can DM me, or you could learn it with the currency merchant. All good. So imagine we open up at 5 a.m. and the whole idea of this session or a range or any range would be efficiency. So what does efficiency mean? Efficiency for me would mean that if we had an opening price right here that is 5 a.m. Yeah, it does look clean, DR 2025. If we had the opening price here at 5 a.m., price opened up, we went high, we went down, we went higher, we went lower, we went higher. Everything inside this range from this low to that high, extended out in time, we could take it to that high, to that low, is all efficient. You agree? We had an equal number of up candle and down candles inside that range. Yes, no? Right. Efficient. So it means that everything below this range is inefficient and runs one-sided, which means at some point the market should seek to rebalance any of that inefficiency. Does that make sense? So if the overnight session is imbalanced or contains inefficiency, the market will seek to rebalance that. Now let's look at this particular day, random day. We open up right here. We know that we've opened up inside previous real price action. And I'm saying real price action because it's price action that exists from 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. and nothing after 4 p.m. to 5 a.m. again. So we opened up inside real price action. There is a clear or visible gap to the previous 4 p.m. close right there. ONS opens up. We get this little bit of efficiency here. Everything below here inefficient. We come and we tag the previous overnight session low right there. What would you do? Because this is going to be an important part of how this conversation progresses into the next sections, right? Because this would rely on, like you said, open high, low close, open low, high close, AMD, and your personal entry, fractal entry models. So let's say we're in a situation right now where this exists. We don't care about London. We don't care about Asia. Sure, Sayed. Let's go over it one more quick time. When price opens up at a specific level, 5 a.m. is the opening price right here. We have an equal number of up candles and down candles printing inside this range. Let me just zoom in there a bit. Every up candle has a down candle body. Every down candle has an up candle body until right here. Once we break through this range and run one-sided, it means that at this point right there, make it blue. At this point right there, and let's just do it body to body instead of wick to wick, right? There we go. At this point right here at the blue, when we start to close through it, everything below the blue line is running inefficiently and one-sided to the downside. Which means at some point, if we are running one-sided to the downside, at some point we need to come back and print an up candle body at this blue level right here. Which would then mean, once that occurs, that this entire range is now efficient. You agree? Yes, no? Yes. Okay, makes sense. What do we know about efficient ranges. We know that efficient ranges or balanced price ranges or efficiently traded ranges seek 50%. Keep that at the back of your mind. We'll come back to it in a second. We open up on this day. Let's get rid of this part right here. We open up, we tag the previous overnight session low right there. You got the idea there, say it. We tag the previous overnight session right here. We look over to the left. If you remember from our last conversation, we now have a down candle body printing inside liquidity, the liquidity being the previous overnight session low. We then have a change in the state of delivery occurring aggressively once we trade through that down candle low's opening price. Are you guys still with me? You have learned that the previous up candle range, like so, which started the series of down candles, would be where your change in the state of delivery would occur, right? That's a standard ICT run-of-the-mill TTFM or TT trade style CSD, right? I want you to think outside the box, because when you have order blocks that form inside liquidity, which means we have clear bodies inside liquidity, right? The opening price of that candle, you could treat it the same, which means if price is expanding lower through this low, we have down candle bodies printing there. We have price expanding through that low. We have price expanding through that low, which formed this down candle body at the low of the previous overnight session. Afterwards, we have a run of that down candle body, but no closes below that. So this is what we would call failed expansion. Remember, when we are closing below the lows of previous down candles or previous candle lows, we are expanding. The moment we are not closing below those lows, we are failing to expand, right? So this we would call a failure to expand lower. Once the CSD comes in right here with a close through the opening price of this candle, we could treat this candle as an order block right there. Body to body, wick to wick, it's up to you. All we are interested in is what your entry fractal model would be or should be. In this case, the opening price of the CSD level of this down candle body right here would be sensitive to price. I would want to buy below the opening candle opening of the candle that closed or created this change in the state of delivery. So if this is the candle right here, I want to be buying below the opening of this candle right here. So it could mean a situation where we buy below this candle, your stop goes at the lows, and your target, if you are not using any standard deviation fibs, would be what? First target would be closing the efficiency right here. Your second target would be aiming for the gap all the way up here. Does that make sense? In fact, this should be your third target. Your second target would actually be the overnight session high. So we have efficiency, overnight session high, filling in the void. And then this process becomes a rinse and repeat. Now, getting back to what I was asking you earlier, what do we know about efficiently traded ranges? If we had this entire range, which then became efficient once we printed up candle bodies through those levels right there, we know that an efficiently traded range or a balanced price range seeks 50%. If we look at 50%, you can see that the red line right here. So it's not random that this occurs right there. Random? Yes, no? If we had an efficiently traded price range and we left that price range, remember, from ICT, consolidation should not lead to expansion. And if we do expand, an efficiently traded range or balanced price range should seek 50%. Right there, 50%, right? So every day it becomes a rinse and repeat. There are days where we create candle bodies above the overnight session or below the overnight session, and we would look to trade top to bottom or bottom to top. Like in this day right here, we grab the overnight session high, we run down to the overnight session low. Once we run the low, where would our eyes be in this particular case right here? Would it not be to the last point of order flow? Now, this is why I mentioned the last point of order flow. Because if the previous 4 p.m. had closed right there, that is the last point of order flow that the market remembers. But the last piece of real price action is actually to the left right here. So price would go from this low, find your model, to here, and eventually we would get back up to this point right here. So that is a little introduction into the overnight session and the beginning of my journey trading ranges. The overnight session works well. It's a good introduction into trading ranges, but it's not the be-all or end-all of where you want to be in terms of trading, right? There are a lot better ranges out there. And we can dive into a few of them that I use personally. Yeah, price. How did you decide 9? I did not decide 9.15 at all, right? Like I said, this is a currency merchant concept. And everything around this can be brought back to what he calls timed deliveries. So, which means if 5 a.m. opened up right there, we run one-sided, this is technically not efficient. So at some point in this guy's life, they would want to come back and put down candle bodies at this level right here and make that efficient. The range itself always runs to 15 minutes before the New York Open or the market open. That is why it's, in this case, 5 a.m. to 9:15. But before DST, it was actually 4 a.m. to 8:15. The gray shaded area is an actual overnight session. Right. So a little bit of a twist on RTH. We've discussed where price opens up inside a void, outside a void, and how we would seek to rebalance every day or trade back to previously untapped highs or lows, or the previous market close or the previous piece of price action that the market remembers before the gap down, which is 4 p.m. But for me, this was not enough, right? This was not enough. I needed faster ranges, more ranges, better control of how I was trading. And the next step in this journey came in, I used a Nephew Sam range box, and it was based roughly around a 4-hour AMD cycle, right? But what actually happened was I needed to frame a range or something around the New York Open, right? And while playing around, I came up with a range at 9 a.m. to 9:15, right here. There we go. The first 15 minutes at 9 a.m. And this came also, if you guys are familiar with BOR, I don't use the BOR anymore because I believe the overnight session is better than the BOR. The 9 to 9:15 became my anchor point when I traded the open, which means what? Just like the overnight session or any, give me a second, any range that we seek to trade, we may have a range like that, and this would give you MMXM vibes, where we had the opening price of this range right there. Price opened up, right? Did something like that. And then we came into the next range like so. We took it, and then price started to head up back to the opening price right here, or the high right there, right? All of these ranges reference each other backwards. So what this means is I played around with the 9 to 9:15 range. And you could see here, the idea would be the same. Here is the 9 to 9:15 range right here. If we are looking for any range or consolidation, you guys know from AMD that we cannot expand from consolidation. That should never be the case. One side should be run, liquidity should be taken, and then price should move. Whenever there's a situation where price is running away from a consolidation or a range, then the market, like I showed you in the overnight session, the market would seek 50% and then continuation. So in this case, when we have a range, the ideal situation would be for a range to be generated, right? Either a timed range, in this case, it is a timed range from 9 to 9:15. At 9:15, depending on what our bias is, if we were bullish, what would you want to see if you are bullish or you are inclined on that particular day? You have a bullish bias. Right? You want to see a sell side run. If you're bullish, and vice versa, if you are bearish, you'd want to see a buy side run, right? Simple as that. Same thing with overnight session. When 9:30 rolls up, if I am bearish, I want to see a buy side run. If I am bullish, I want to see a sell side run. So the idea would then be, if I was bullish, or even if I was not or did not have any inclination or bias for that particular day, but I see a consolidation, I see them run the low, and then we have a change in state of delivery. Now it's trigger time, right? To at least back to the range high that was created right here. Now, what you're going to find is that when we reference the 9:15 or 9 to 9:15 range right here, we see that they create the range, they run the range lows, they CSD, retracement into OB, and expansion. And this would occur most likely every day. I'm not saying, let's not say every day, right? There are days where they open and they just run one-sided. On those days, you would look to see whether the high or the low was tagged, and those would then become liquidity. But the idea here for me in the beginning was that if we like cold brews, opening range or closing range ideas, if I'm above or closing above the 9 to 9.15 range, if I'm closing above it, well, I'm more inclined bullish for any retracements back into it, either at any order blocks created or 50%, and in some cases, the high or the low of that range. So in this case, you can see here, we had a 9.15 range here. We ran it, we ran higher. We had another one right here. It comes back down to this one. It comes back down to the previous one, and it comes back down to the previous one right here. So these ranges are sort of referencing each other back in time, not unlike the opening range or the closing range. We have this opening range or this 9.15 range running back to a previous one. We have these ones running to previous ones. You could see going back in time. What's up, Cold Brew? Same story today, right? 9.15 comes in, 9 to 9.15 range created. We go higher. We OLR. No. Don't talk about that, Cold Brew. We're not getting there yet. No. Don't get there. That's leap years ahead of where I want them to be right now. Right. 9 to 9.15. We have the reference point set. We OLR. We get back above the 9.15 high. Retracement to EQ, rejection block, whatever your entry model is, and price is gone. Every day, the same thing every day, right? But still, I was not happy or satisfied, right? Even though you're seeing days like this, create the range, run the low, run higher, create the range, run lower, OLR, go higher. So the whole idea is you want to avoid getting caught in the Judas, right? You want to avoid getting caught in the Judas. So look at this right here. We open, we run high, and then suddenly an OLR comes out of nowhere. We take the low, we create a change in the state of delivery, and then we start pushing higher. Again, this case right here, price moves higher. And remember, in any instant that you trade any piece of price action, there will be an opening price to that range. There will be a situation where the range is created. It is efficient. What do we know about efficient ranges? They seek 50% right there. But it also means that if they are running one-sided, this is imbalance. We come back down to rebalance all of it right there to that point. Right? So your reference point for any trading or any ideas that you may have would be an opening price. We run one-sided, creates inefficiency. We come back, we make the range efficient, we run lower, we create more inefficiency, we come back, and we close the loop, as the currency merchant calls it, right? The opening price of the range is right here. We run one-sided, rebalance, run one-sided, rebalance. And again, the same thing over and over again. We create a range, we run the high and the low, and we F off, right? Every day, same thing over and over again. But I'm never happy, right? I'm never happy. So what if there was, because I'm from South Africa, I don't know whether I should say I have the pleasure of trading London, right? But I'm awake at London. And what if there was a range that I could have used to set a bias for me in London? What would the best possible time for that be? So I got to thinking, and it ended up being, let's find it right here. Here we go, right? Let me just take some time to read this. So coming back to that range is a rebalance of the inefficient displacement and buildup of MMXM, where we get involved when bullish payment of orders start after price is already efficient in the previous range. Yeah, correct. Sounds correct. Let's turn off the let's keep the 915 range on here. Again, welcome to the London range in red. This range is 2 to 215. Same story. If the range opens up, we close below the range. You can see this range. We tag the low of the range and we F off. Price eventually comes back right here. So we have a situation where the range at 915 tends to seek or rebalance the range at 215, or 2 a.m. to 215. There are times where the ranges overlap. Right? Now, there may be people who say you put enough lines on a chart and everything would make sense, right? But we'll get to the final piece of this puzzle in a bit. Again, same ideas. We create a range, we run its high. We'd like to target the low. We run the low. CSD, Bob's your uncle, right? So this for me, depending whether we are above or below the 2 a.m. 15-minute range, would determine how bullish or bearish I am coming in to London. Don't take my word for it. Go back into your own charts and you'd find that it's the same things over and over again. We create a range, we run the low, CSD, and price is gone. Now imagine you had this reference point as opposed to not having this reference point. Because if you didn't have the reference point, then this would mean nothing to you. So what we have now is a range set for the London traders at 2 a.m. to 2:15. We're having 9 a.m. to 9:15 range. You could use a 1 minute, and we'll get there. Duke of Venice, we'll get there. I'm waiting, cold brew. I'm waiting. 9 to 9:15 for New York. 2 to 2:15 for London. But still, right? as time goes, we play around with the two ranges, and I'm still not satisfied. Because there must be more, right? There must be more. There must be more. Let's go to Asia. So there must be an Asian range somewhere in the world that exists that I could use. And for that particular range, I was using actually 8 p.m. to 8:15, right? Let's bring this guy into the play right there. There we go. Now we have an Asian range, first 15 minutes, coming into a London range, and look at what this is referencing in time. We go back. Experiment with these for yourselves. These will all become pit stops on the way as price moves. So now we have a London range, an Asian range to start the day, a London range, and a New York AM range. Right? You guys are starting to cook. From Asia, we create the range, we run it slow, we move higher. Now, if you haven't figured this out yet, this would most likely take you into things regarding hourly rotations, because if you hadn't noticed, we were using the first 15 minutes of every hour, particularly 8 to 8:15, 2 to 2:15, and 9 to 9:15. But still, if there was a New York AM, a London, and an Asian range, then surely there must be one for the PM session at New York, right? Surely there must be one. So we dig a bit deeper, we play around, and that becomes 1 to 1:15. Same story. Let's pull off the other guys for now. And now we have a New York PM session range. So what I've introduced you to is 4 ranges that I use in particular. One at Asia, one at London, one at the New York Open, and now we have a New York PM session right here. Again, we create the range, we run the low, failure to expand lower. Let's look at this. Failure to expand lower, CSD, expansion. It's going to be the same things every day over and over again. And all you are doing, thanks, man. All you are doing is looking for ranges to be created and range efficiency to take place. We open up, we run one-sided, we come back, we rebalance, we head lower, one-sided, imbalanced, we come back, all is good. This is your fractal. Any questions? When you put these on your charts, you will start to see things for yourself. Yeah, the PM was the last. The PM was the last range that I had included here, right? Because imagine you're trading the PM session, but you have no reference points. So what would be, how would you, as, let's say you were an archer, right? Or a sniper, how would you shoot your target or reference anything if you don't know where the target actually is? You have no point of reference inside here besides some random 2022 model FEG unicorn something something, right? 99% of traders would be looking for some kind of fancy unicorn breaker, mitigation block, breakaway gap. Yeah. And we'll get into that, Waffles. We'll get into that, right? Cipher, and psych. Geez, type like shit. p0is-Zn. No, we're not teaching macro times. Stop with that. Yeah, they say, Cobra, they say all the best traders are fat and bald and have beards. All the good looking ones, at least. Right. I don't want to get into macro, those liquidity hunting and rebalance and all of those other things, right? It's not my job to get into those. Right. So again, no Forge. Him and I, we're twins. We're twinsies. He knows that. We both have chunky fingers. Right. So imagine you're trying to reference something or shoot a target, but you have no reference point. And then you start to pull up everything out of the ICT playbook, like a breakaway gap, a unicorn, anything and everything, right? Anything and everything you could get your hands on to try and figure out whether we're going up or down, as opposed to having a reference point and saying, okay, this was the previous PM session right here. We moved away. We created a new PM session range right here. We had a failure to expand lower. What's up, future code? We had failed expansion below the lows, CSD, retracement, expansion. Because there's something which I use, which is called the order of delivery, and it's always going to be the same occurrences every time, right? It will be an accumulation, a failure swing, an OLR, CSD, retracement, expansion. Does this look familiar to you guys? The order of delivery. Poison. It's poison feature code. Don't pull a Josh on me with the p0is-Zn stuff. OLR is an opposing liquidity run. Opposing liquidity run. No problem. So the order of delivery would dictate that we have an accumulation, we have a failure swing, we wait for the OLR. Yeah, Josh was saying p0is-Zn forever until I corrected him like a month ago. We have an OLR and we demand an OLR because if you're into that Dexter Fib standard deviation projections, this is where this comes in, right? Because once you have the OLR, then we're cooking with stuff like that. And once you have an OLR, you have an OB candidate or range. If you remember from the last video, then things start to look a bit more familiar, right? The order of delivery: accumulation, failure swing, opposing liquidity run, a change in the state of delivery, retracement, expansion. Yeah, just keep it as poison. It's fine. Okay, future code. Since you asked so many times, let's do this, right? Let me do this. In my IRC days, right? Let's go. IRC days. Any of you are young enough to remember IRC, MIRC? We all had nicknames, right? And if you know where I'm from in South Africa, particularly, it's Durban, and super well known for weed, which they call Durban poison, right? Some of you guys are familiar with that. Durban poison, right? But the particular county or province that I'm from, never heard of it, right? Go Google it, right? Durban poison. So the particular province that I'm from, or city, our registration plates all end in ZN, right? Which is Zulu Natal, right? So all of this is just a number plate. Basically, I'm a number plate. That's what I'm saying. I'm a number plate. Just a play on poison, but with the ZN, right? I'm the back of a car registration plate. Sounds sad. Right. Yeah. So imagine you were in the UK. I suppose you'd have something like p0is-Zn or something, right? I've seen those fancy private number plates in the UK. Anything else you guys want to ask me before we carry on? Because I wasn't going to go into the next bit, but we might as well while we're here, right? So we have 4 ranges set in time. Each of these offer us a look back or a reference point for our trading. All we are looking to do is create the range, run one side of the range, run to the other. So we have an accumulation. Again, we have some sort of accumulation, a failure swing, an OLR, the CSD, the retracement, and the expansion. Same thing over and over again every day. Right. Now, what's up, Celox? I see you typing there. What we need to take note of is the how. No problem, Celox, no problem. Like always, we take note of the high and low of these ranges that are untapped, because it's not random, and we'll get into how not random this is next. So I got greedy, or shall I say I got even more greedy, and I decided to go down the rabbit hole. And I hate going down rabbit holes, right? Because sometimes nothing good comes out of them. Nothing good at all. And I said to myself, well, why am I only looking at 9 to 9:15, 2 to 2:15, 8 p.m. to 8:15, and 1 to 1:15? If I was entertaining an idea of an hourly rotation, well, surely this shit must work for every fucking hour, right? So let's go down and let's get a bit deeper. Turn this guy off, turn this guy off, turn that guy off. You guys don't need to know about that. Let's go there. So what if I did this for every single hour? Well, then I have a set of London 15-minute ranges that I can play off. And what you'll notice, depending on your bias, is that every hour should offer you a rotation or a trade idea from this low to this high, create the range, run this high, back down to this low, and it's the same thing over and over again. This high to this low, random right here, right there. What was also random, where is CPI, right? So let's get into, I haven't included any of the Asian hours, but I mean, you could go back and F off. It was four. let's do that, right? I'm not sure how much of my screen you can see, right? I just want to make sure that you know that this fucking high right here was taken right there, right? If you want to be anal about it, we'll keep it at 1 point. So most of what this also avoids is FOMO, because I'm not fumbling the bag trying to get in if I miss something. No, I'll wait for a range to be created, wait for them to take the range, and I'll play either with the bias or scalp against the bias. All I need for them to do is either take the high or low, or create rejection block ideas based around the low, which may not necessarily take that low. All I need to figure out is if there are rejection block ideas at this low, then surely I can play the rejection block, which doesn't necessarily mean taking this low or the high of the rejection block range. Right, so these start off the day for me at midnight. Open, again, it's the same loop sort of function. We open, we run one-sided, we go higher, we come back, we close the loop. We open, we run lower, we come back, we close the loop. And every single high that is untapped, when we go back in time, these will all be referenced with these 1 point lines going forward. Right there. So now we have many DOLs. We have a DOL right here. We have a DOL right here. You get the idea, right? Yeah, an MMXM. Now, what I've done, if you haven't noticed here, is, and I refine this or reserve this for the 1 minute, is when we add the beloved session stat map into this. Because what if the session stat map could give me an idea of how big these ranges can get? Well, then I pull up the session stat map. I add on as many of these times every hour for 15 minutes, plot them onto a chart, and wait for the magic to happen, right? Because first 15 minutes, if you're using a Nephew Sam range, just use a Nephew Sam range box. That should sort that out. You're probably going to need like 7 of them on a chart. So with the session stat map backing this up, I don't know who Sam is, but if you Sam anyway. Yeah. Whoever you are, Sam, I'm so sorry. If you. Right. Nephew Sam. Nephew. So we get cooking with the session stat map. We add session stat map into it. We have the open. And I'm so afraid to make these bigger now since Cold Brew has called me out on using old man large text and lines. Right. But anyway, we get an idea of how large Slap is 6.48 font, 100%. So we get an idea, right? Because with session stat map, we can look into the future and figure out how large this range could possibly get for that 15 minutes. What do we have here? We have the open. And lo and behold, the high comes in at a distribution level. Now, what I like to use these levels for is, if you've watched any of my previous stat map videos, that I keep the previous stat map or session stat map ranges on, because when you have something like delayed delivery, then we have the ranges or the levels. I'm going to do this at 4. We have the distribution levels being tagged outside of the range time as a delayed delivery. Make sense? So if I'm looking to short this range high, what confluence do I have around this? I have, just to annoy Cobra, I'm going to make it 2 points. We have the session distribution level. We take the high right there. Failure to expand higher, TSD, everything's good. The delayed delivery soup. Exactly. It's why I keep the previous session stat map levels on. Yeah, it's recorded, Celox. I'll upload it to my YouTube and share the link. So again, you can see we open tag manipulation level, tag distribution level. All's good. All's good in the hood. We open, we tag distribution level. It creates the high and the low for this range. Let's hop on over to a New York version of this. And let's get rid of this crazy indicator. Let's update that. Update that. And let's see what gives here. Again, distribution level around this range. I think this was PPI today. This is the 9 a.m. range right here. We run to a delayed delivery to a distribution level. Change in the state of delivery. My personal favorite, which Cobra has been calling incorrectly all this time, turbo. Actually, the flash range right there. And we're off. So when we look back, flasher range, yeah. When we look back at these, right there, not random. One of my better continuation trades yesterday came right here. If I expect the data high to be taken right there, we have the 11 a.m. creating the range. Zoom in a bit, run the range low, CSD. All of your ideas can be born like so. Power of 3, 100%. The general idea behind these ranges was to just do these little things right here. I'm not sure. I don't personally do them. I'm not sure how many do them, right? But I do know that they exist or exists traders out there that take these little 10 to 20 point scalps. For me personally, this was the second time that I added, and yeah, right here to the data high, 185 points. Is it foolproof? Nope, not foolproof. Is it able to offer you opportunities? Of course. Of course. You cannot tell me that you will not get at least 2 to 4 trades a day using London or these ranges in the New York session. Because I haven't even included, if we're talking or getting technical about macros, that if the first 15 minute creates the range, then XX20 should provide a pivot point, or the next point should be XX40. You're starting to see beyond the candles now, right? Okay. Let's go. If you're talking macros, right, then we know that they would be the initial XX00 to XX20, XX20 itself to XX40, and then XX40 to XX60 or XX00 again, right? Which means you could time your pivot points around XX20 or XX40 right here. You could time your pivot points around XX20 for that hour or XX40 right there. Yeah. Kind of like a Judas swing. Again, not random. 1 minute chart. Create the range. What do we see around here? XX20. What do we see up here? XX40. I think I've given too much or more than I wanted to today. Yeah, I have. I just realized that I can't stop myself from a fucking blabbermouth, and I keep going on. I should have kept all this shit for myself, because we don't want a situation where you give out the infamous 2022 model, and then suddenly when everyone starts to use it, it doesn't work anymore. There's a lot, whatever I'm giving you or telling you guys, these are all just pieces of a puzzle. There's a lot more to it, a lot more finesse. That's a bit more than an IFEG, right? There's a bit more to it than that. But what I've given you and what my goal or aim for in 2025 is to take away all the dumb shit and dumb everything down. Nothing complicated. We create a range. We take the low, change in the state of delivery. We move higher. Now, I did have this guy added on here. Let's do that, right? Because you can see with the TTFM indicator, you should be able to. How can I do this? Let's go here. And let's see if TT. There we go. There we go. Right. So I've given you a range with stat map in it. We create the range, manipulate below it at a manipulation level from stat map, and we add on the TTFM indicator. You have a change in the state of delivery occurring right here. You have your projections, which now uses Wix right there. And you have, we go for 3.5 to 4 standard deviations right there. What do you guys think about that? I've included all of the fancy 2 degrees collaboration stuff into it. We have my simple ranges using session stat map. And if you're still lazy, pop on the TTFM indicator. It will literally tell you that there is a change in the state of delivery occurring right here with the standard deviations. I mean, how much more simpler can you get, or how much more do you need for an indicator to tell you? Yeah, duh. Fucking automated, autonomous, right? Autonomous. In here, I'm using the mean, but I think I'll switch over to both as of the right, as of the new update. And then we have these zones here instead of just a mean or a median. Yeah, I can show you the stat map setting. Nothing fancy. It's just the first 15 minutes of every hour. In this particular case, we can only have 4, so I have 2 instances of the stat map, which takes me through all of the London ranges and the yeah, one trade would pay. I mean, look at this, right? 67 points. Cobrew, do the math there on one mini at least. These indicators cost. Think of them as, do some girl math on them, right? Take one trade. It pays for the indicator for life. Basically, the indicator's free. The indicator is basically free after one trade. Well, at least that's what my wife tells me to do. I'm telling you, okay, this looks a bit messy because I've included the mean and the median in here. But how much more simpler do you want to get with something like this? Stat map around the range, we manipulate to a distribution level. TTFM says change in the state of delivery by. "2025 is the year that we dumb shit down. Truly. That's why I didn't want CB to get into that other stuff, because while I may teach that other stuff inside my Discord, it's not for everyone. We don't want to complicate too many things. Yeah, of course you could eye these things manually. I mean, sometimes you may miss them. Especially the ones with the little wicks below here, like that, and then you miss this one. Yeah, you can miss them. TTFM just takes away the guesswork, if you ask me. My TTFM settings are nothing fancy. Pretty. The only addition I made is 2.33 on the for projections of the standard deviation projections. And I project from wick to wick, not body to body. Not body to body. Yeah, true. So the indicators can help, but it also helps if you understand. So this is why, for those that didn't watch the first live stream that I did, I talked you guys through the process of how we arrived at the TTFM indicator from the start of accumulation, a failure swing, an OLR, a CSD, a retracement, and an expansion. Any more questions you guys have before I give something out that I don't want to? Any questions? Lots of love? Yeah, of course, always. You've been around me a long time, Mayor. You know, I just had some thoughts about that right now, CB. Let's take a look. Let's take a look why this gas start, right? And my guess is that we're at this fucked up level here where they're pairing bearishly right there, or even right there. So let's go back down this way. Now you know. Now you know. Yeah, so ideal would be 22.3 for me. I wanted right there. Purely based on this knobby right there. Josh, you coming in with that crazy stuff. Me personally, am I charting be adjust? They make no difference to me, Joshu. I trade between CFDs and I switch between US 100 and futures, so it's neither here nor there for me. You don't have the gap on the daily? Let's have a look. Yeah. But I think this is just this is not my normal template, by the way. My normal template is full of shit that I don't want to be showing on screen. Nothing too saucy, but I mean, just a little messy. Just a little messy. What else you got? Yeah. Now I got to think about the next 2 degree stream. How much more do I want to spew in that stream? I think May is the only guy right now that knows about one specific level that I have on my charts every day, and why that level gets tagged every day like a magnet. Okay, sorry, Cold Brew does too, but he's probably forgotten it. He's probably forgotten it. Let this baby just load up and let's have a look at something. Right. And this indicator takes a ton of. Maybe we'll leave this for the next time. But what if I told you that there's a level in time that will get hit almost every day? And you'll see it. You'll see it form. You'll see it form in real time. You'll see it disappear. You will see price. It's booped at 25, 100%. I like the boop dot 26 actually. Here we go. Giving away too much here. Giving away too much. Because the next one is all the way up here, Cold Brew, 22,295. Alrighty. You guys don't have any more questions?
How's everyone doing? Drop a 1 if you're still with us.
Yeah, I may have lost.
If you're still with us.
I may have lost a ton of guys along the way.
All right. Okay. Definitely looks like there's some people still with us.
Yeah, 97 of them.
Well, this has been quite the journey. Anybody take notes? Curious to know who took notes.
Yeah. Our brain still processing the first model you taught. Nothing too fancy. Yeah, I'll upload it to my YouTube just now. It'll be there just now. It will be there.
Right on. Oh goodness.
There's no price on that Anagul. It's an indicator that a friend of mine made for me, just for that one. It's just one level every day, just one level. Marco, I can't right now. Maybe next time. Maybe next time. All I'm saying that every day it's a magnet for price. Cold Brew, look what you've done. The humble trader's looking for a 0.25 boop indicator.
Bro, that's too funny. All right. Yeah,
Right.
been a wonderful
Yeah,
stream.
we're
I
good.
don't
Yeah,
know
we're
if
good.
anybody
We're good.
else
We're good.
has any questions. Happy to answer any of them. I know
Yeah, of
I
course.
said I would do a nice little small giveaway at the end, but I want to know who took notes though. Because like if someone actually took notes, those people deserve the giveaway more.
Yeah, I think they should. Come on. How many of you guys took notes? What's up, Pathfinder? Took a few, but not enough. Yep, that's the best note, CB. For range is efficient, slap it. Slap it to the moon. Whoa, Jesse coming in with those essays.
Let's go. Jesse's gonna get XP.
Yeah, Jesse's coming in with that good shit. Humble Trader, I honestly think you should delete .25 boop from your notes. I really think you should. Yeah, driver
shout
coming
out.
in, driver coming. Yep. Gaia, we believe you. We believe you.
I just did a little small giveaway in the chat. 7 days free of add to your subscription. People that took notes, I'm gonna add your XP right now. Shout out to Jesse and Driver. Shout out to you guys.
Thanks
If
a lot,
anybody
Josh.
else, yeah, of course. Does anyone else have any questions for Poison?
Oh, nice, Vishiro. Nice, nice. So, stay tuned to my Twitter feed maybe tomorrow, and
Awesome.
maybe I'll give away that one elite subscription, huh, Josh? Let's
Yeah,
give that away.
let's do it.
Yeah, let's do
Absolutely.
that.
We got a
One
lot of
of
people that
you,
love and support you, and we really, really
yeah,
appreciate you. So,
one of you
we'd be
lucky
happy
guys are
to
going to get
do that.
an elite subscription for life. Free elite, yeah, of course. Yeah, it's for life. It's for life. They don't play around in 2 degrees. It's not some of that 1 month shit. When they give you stuff, it's for life. Alrighty, guys. Again, thank you for flying Poison Airlines. And I hope to see you guys soon. If you have any questions, my DMs are always open. My Discord's also always open. And if you want to get to know more, then yeah, DM me and we can hook that up.
Wonderful. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much,
Appreciate all of
everyone.
you.
Please drop
Appreciate
a
all of you.
heart
All of
in
you.
the chat. Joel,
Yep,
shout
get
out
some
to
hearts in the
you.
chat.
There we
AJ
go.
and RP, great job. Great job, AJ.
Let me get some XP at AJ.
Yeah, AJ did a great job.
Shout out to you guys.
Real
And
good.
Joel, if you're here, shout out to you. You just won 7 free days. So congrats to
Nice.
you showing
Nice.
up to a stream.
Alrighty. If there's nothing else, you guys know where to find me. Twitter, Discord, 2 degrees. It's sort of all over the place. Catch you later, baby. See you,
Take it
CB.
easy. Bye,
See you,
everybody.
baby. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate you. Much love.
Much love. Thank you. Have a good one.
Cheers. Bye bye.